what I tell people, but that's not, the true story.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's going to be fun. For people who don't know, actually, I guess I got to do the normal shout out, but just patrons, anybody who signed up, we'll shout you out next week because we're recording this really early, but Patreon gets you access to After Dark's podcast after the podcast. So join us there if you like. Yeah, for everybody who doesn't know, and even for us too, maybe give us an intro. Who are you? What you do?
Well, my name is Jimmy. It's not just the online name. It's just my name. I do mostly old school RuneScape content. I do a lot of video essays. I've got 2 different series on the game. Been doing full-time content creation since 2020 through the series that I do. Just basically branched off the same year into just video essays about old school and have been kind of just branching out into MMO topics recently. To diversify the content a little bit, not be pigeonholed into just old school RuneScape. It's been a lot of fun to experiment with other stuff. So I guess that's why GGG. I don't know if people say it GGG or something, but
you say it your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why they reached out as they saw the MMO video or something, and that's why I got into that scene. But I'm that's just kind of what I do. I don't really stream or anything. It's just the videos, and
nice.
Yeah.
Was RuneScape what you started doing the content creation on? Was like that the beginning for you, or was there a before RuneScape?
Yeah, it was what I started on. I've been making RuneScape videos since 2014, and I didn't do it full time until 2020, till after I graduated college. And it was basically how I learned video making from start to finish, is just on old school RuneScape. And I guess it worked out, so it's pretty cool.
What did you? I was curious. So everything's RuneScape. I've watched a couple of your videos just to try and a couple just to see like who you are and what you play, and RuneScape confuses the crap out of me, but I got lots of questions for you. But did you did you play games before RuneScape? Like, were there other, like, I guess there wasn't much in that genre though before it, was there? I've
always played other games other than RuneScape. I think sure. I've just never made videos on them. Mm-hmm. But I grew up with consoles, so I was always gaming on consoles. But funny enough, the reason I actually got into RuneScape growing up is because it was one of the only games I could play on the computer on Mac, because my family was a Mac family, so I could never play PC games. That was my only option. So RuneScape was always fine running on Mac, and then of course once I grew up and got a PC myself is when I really started gaming. So it's I've played a lot more than old school RuneScape, but
console kid,
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Word.
Was RuneScape online at that time too? Like, was RuneScape always online, or was it at any point like an offline game?
Yeah, it's always been online. Always been MMORPG. I think it came out 2001 for the classic version, and then it's just been here ever since. Different
When you
ways.
were playing it on Mac, was it cross-platform, or was it just other Mac users? Or
it was cross-platform. It was through it was Java, so it was just anyone who could run Java was able to play RuneScape.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool.
Let me just get my notes going. Taz got a little cold.
Nice.
A little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
6 hours later.
This is why we don't do them live.
So Justin and I have played RuneScape now.
Yeah. I looked at RuneScape. The video that I watched of yours that was quite funny was I think you made it in 2020, and it was why do people continue playing RuneScape, or why should they continue playing RuneScape? And I watched it, and I was like, I don't know how you're doing it. Like, it just, I don't know if it's just because you get into it, you're so into it that it's the look for me that I just can't get over I feel like it just feels like going backwards. The graphics are crazy.
I guess in a way it is going backwards. It's funny enough. I was just saying before you got back that yesterday, Asmongold just reacted to a video I made, basically responding to another react he did, where he basically claimed that the only reason that Old School RuneScape exists is because of nostalgia. And so I made this whole new video that brought up a lot of the points of the video that you actually watched, but kind of in a different perspective, different new way, 4 years later kind of thing. And it's just been this big thing of the aesthetic of Old School RuneScape is directly linked to nostalgia, but at the same time it's not, because there's so many new players trying it now that have never played it in the past. So there is no nostalgia factor there. It's just a good video game. And a lot of people are thrown off by the graphics. And they're like, what is this? You know, what am I doing here? You know, all these Unreal Engine 5 games are coming out. Why am I playing this 2002 aesthetic game? Like, what is this? And they quickly realized that it's one of the greatest sandbox games ever created because of all the different ways you can play and the things you can do. And it's interesting from my perspective because I am not a very elite player of the game or anything. Like, I'm not the best at it by any means. There are so many players that I still don't understand how they could be so good at the game. I'm very casual about it, but I understand the entire game and everything about it and enjoy watching other people play it in crazy ways. So I'm I get very excited talking about it just because it's fascinating to me of how much opportunity there are to play in different ways. I guess it's kind of like, I mean, I haven't played PoE 1 or anything, but I know that after making the video I did, a big emphasis was on like the builds and how important it is to PoE. And I guess it's the same kind of thing for RuneScape, is there is so many ways to build your account, whether you want to restrict yourself to a region of the game, you want to play self-found mode, you want to be a hardcore mode, so you die once and it's over.
Lame.
Yeah, I agree.
We hate hardcore in PoE 2.
Yeah,
sorry, in PoE as well, not in PoE 2.
Yeah. It's a big crazy culture of just trying new things and seeing how far you can push it. Like, one of my best friends is he's the game's like face. He's the face of the game. If you say, do you watch any Old School RuneScape videos? Someone will say Settled, and he's the big guy. And right now he's doing a series where he has 1 hit point. If he takes any damage from anything ever, it's over. And it took him 109 accounts before he could get past like the first hour of gameplay. So like it's crazy stuff that you have to be kind of a lunatic to do. But I think that's one of the biggest grabs that pulls audience in, is these wacky concepts that you really don't see in other games. So it's a fun community to be a part of, and it goes a lot deeper than just the surface. You know, judging a book by its cover is super common for Old School, but anyone who dives into it for a little over an hour or something will find that they're a month into the game and they can't stop playing, and it's the perfect second monitor game, and everyone's always online.
That's cool.
I was actually curious because I know a lot of people do stuff with it on their second monitor, which seems odd to me. It reminded me, not in the look or so much, but there was a game I used to play called Shadowbane, which was I loved it. It was online. It was mainly focused around PvP, but it was a huge world game. And the only reason I ever stopped playing is because the company stopped supporting it, so they didn't have the servers anymore. And then eventually there was a reboot of it. So I assume RuneScape's still the same company. Like, whoever created it is still maintaining it or running it. Is that true? Yeah.
So the RuneScape was made by 3 brothers, and they are no longer a part of the company, but it's still Jagex, like the company that they started. There are some devs that are still there from the original days that are some of the main developers of Old School. So it still does have touch with its roots. It's still, there's 2 versions of the game, and we don't really the main game is not very very in a good state right now. So
what's the other one?
it's just called RuneScape. RuneScape 3 is what it's referred to sometimes, and it is not. It's all riddled with pay-to-win microtransactions, and Old School is probably the community out of all communities that are the most against anything microtransactions. Like, it is a blacklisted word in the Old School community to bring up microtransactions. Like, I am not kidding. The community will quit. Like, the whole game will quit if they ever like implement like a pay-to-win system or something like that. It's crazy.
Is it paid to play or is it just free?
It is pay to play. There's two. You can play free to play, but if you pay membership, you get access to, I mean, an insane amount of more things. I mean, it's crazy. So
it's a monthly subscription then.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever seen the movie Encanto? It's a Disney movie cartoon.
No.
Oh, there's a song in there called We Don't Talk About Bruno, and it's a very catchy song, but people will sing that song, We Don't Talk About Bruno, when there's something that you're not supposed to talk about. For example, RuneScape 3.
Yeah, RuneScape 3. Very sensitive, very sensitive topic right now.
That's right. Now, you were saying video essays, and that's a relatively new term to an old timer like me. How is that different, or what's specific about that term that you call yourself doing video essays as opposed to like just a blog or whatever it would be?
Yeah, I guess video essays, I mean, they're structured how you think an essay would be. If you think back just of having to write about a certain topic and structure it a certain way with arguments and counter arguments, just kind of presenting it in a way that is, it's not just spitballing or improv. You have a point you want to make, and you bring all this evidence and just kind of show examples. I got inspired to do video essays after watching a YouTuber called Nakey Jakey. He's very big, and he makes some of the best YouTube videos on the platform. And he's done video essays for probably over 10 years now. And his style is super unique. I had never seen anything like it, and I wanted to do something like that. And I thought it was just really effective. It's a very effective way to just talk about something interesting, because it doesn't always have to be like this argumentative thing. It could just be about like a presentation you want to give someone. It's just about a thing you find interesting, or for bringing a different perspective to something. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that just wouldn't understand anything about why people play RuneScape. And so when I made that video essay, I was able to just kind of show a few of the many things that draw people into the game. And ever since I did that, I've just tried and found as many interesting topics as I could that could make something that is informative and fun. And it's just kind of become like a staple of the channel now.
That's cool. Well, good for you. You did an excellent job on your PoE video that I saw. You definitely have a very good structure to all of your comments. Give me a sec. I need to fix my face. I look like a ghost right now, right?
You always look like a ghost.
Oh, shut your face. I'm the gardener out of us two, okay? If anybody, but look, is it better?
You didn't fix it at all.
I put the window up.
It might be worse even.
I think it might be worse. Yeah, hat. That'll do it.
There you go. No, look, it's the shade. You can at least see my eyes now.
Just got your light.
Hey, look, Justin has the constant olive skin. He probably pays for it, but I don't know about that. But he has a constant olive skin, and I'm the one that's outside all the time.
Getting burnt.
No, I'm not burnt. Anyway, whatever.
Are you do you like lawns? Do you like lawns?
You like lawns?
Do you like lawns? We're relatively big into our lawns, so we have to ask.
We're good at maintaining our lawns, so don't feel bad if you like them and you suck at them. We just like them. We like them and suck at them.
I appreciate lawns. I haven't gotten into the world of lawns yet. This is my first year owning a home, so it's actually the first year I can actually, if I felt like doing something with a lawn, I could. But also I live in Vegas, and lawns are not very lawny. They're very they're very rocky and not a lot of grass here. So not too many options, but I have seen people get pretty creative with lawns. And my dad was a landscaper for a long time, so he's very passionate about it. And usually if I have lawn stuff, I'll usually just call my dad so he can live out his prime and you know, do what he loves. He loves coming over and explaining things I don't understand about irrigation and all that. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'd be a totally different world for you based on where you live and where we live. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different.
Very different.
But what you didn't know is that this was actually a test question, and you are now welcome to return to the podcast whenever it works for you, because you could have answered that question incorrectly. So we're glad you appreciate it.
Like, has anyone ever answered that incorrectly?
We've never aired their episodes.
That's fair.
That's right. We've had the president.
You just all of a sudden the call ends, and the call ends, and we just move on. You said you live in Vegas, so I mean, I don't want to bring up a sore topic, but why the Edmonton Oilers then?
So I basically grew up with a hockey family. Like everyone in my family loves it, and one of my uncles who played semi-professional hockey and coached semi-professional hockey had watched Connor McDavid play when he was like 13 or 14 and basically said like, this kid's gonna change everything. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And ever since then, I must have been 12 or 13 because McDavid, he's a year older than I am, and he
Wait, you're like 14?
Yeah, I'm like 14.
Hang on, I have to look up how old Connor McDavid is.
Should be.
I know it within like 5 years, but
I think he's 27.
You keep talking.
Yeah, he's 27. But
and you said he's older or younger?
He's 1 year older.
Oh my goodness, Justin, we have to watch our language.
Yeah, watch your language. I'll be very offended.
Go ahead, keep going.
But yeah, ever since my uncle had told me about him, I was just kind of following his career, and it was amazing watching him be so good at hockey.
This year was nuts, yeah.
And yeah, this year especially, I mean, it was wild. So I guess I've always just kind of had Edmonton since he joined, just kind of as my little side tracker, because my whole family's from Philadelphia. So I unfortunately am linked to all Philadelphia teams, which is tough. But
therefore, maybe a little bit of a Bobrovsky fan as well.
Yes. I mean, fan, I guess, more so just sad that he's so good now and wasn't good when we drafted him. But it's cool seeing him win. It was cool.
Yeah. That's cool. So that must have been quite an interesting Stanley Cup final. So people listening, we're recording the day after the Stanley Cup finals were won. It was Game 7. It was Edmonton versus Florida, and lots of good stuff. A lot of really good emotional stories in there for sure. I'm always a basket case. Like I'm a big sports guy, and anytime you see somebody win something like Olympics or all that, or you see a figure skater fall like that, I'm just like a weeping sad sack of emotions. And that was a really, really cool final. But there's something special. Like, obviously, Connor McDavid is the best player in hockey, and he has an absurd amount of fans. But it's really cool when you have someone like, for me, there's other players for myself that, you kind of see them come from something, or for some reason as a kid or young adult, you see something special in this one player, and you start they're just a favorite player for you as they get older, and it's extra special when they end up being quite a good player or very epic. And so that's really cool to hear about you and McDavid. That's pretty neat.
The only reason I knew was I saw you tweet something maybe a week or so back that was Edmonton related. I was like, what?
Yeah. I was very, very excited. Very excited when he broke Gretzky's assist record.
Right.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, he got the Conn Smythe too.
Yeah, so, that was wild.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Are you at all Golden Knights fan?
Yeah.
I'm forced to cheer for them a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. It's cool having a hometown team now. It's not something I ever thought we'd have, and now we have like every sport here.
Every sport.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But
hey though, congrats. I mean, Justin and I, we've been waiting like 30, 40 years for Vancouver Canucks to win a cup. We've come close a couple of times, and then you guys did it in 6. So
yeah, I know.
we secretly hate you, but
it felt weird when they won the cup. Like me and my dad were watching the cup together, and when they won, it was exciting. But it also, we were saying it just didn't feel right. We're like, that wasn't miserable
That's
enough.
not fair.
We didn't suffer before then. Like, it doesn't feel correct. Because, we're still, like, before Knights fans, we're Flyers fans. So, like, that is miserable. We are feeling the misery there for sure. So that's what we're, like, most passionate about. So when the Golden Knights won after 6 years, it's like, yeah, cool. That's
right.
Cool that the team did it so early. I mean, they made it to the Stanley Cup final their first year of existence. So I mean,
insane.
They're a crazy franchise to begin with, but yeah, I mean, they just didn't suffer enough beforehand.
We feel the suffering. We've never ever seen
We'll trade you. Okay. But it's like paying your dues. I always joke about that when I'm driving around. It's like sometimes people they're waiting at it's the worst intersection in the city, for example, and you're waiting and people are waiting and waiting. It feels like 20 minutes to turn left. And you show up just at that right time when that 20 minutes is up and you get to go through the intersection without even needing to come to a stop without paying your dues. Same kind of thing. Right. That's what I think about. That's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
Not paying your dues, but congratulations anyway. Yeah. Connor, I mean, honestly, almost best case scenario with the exception of winning. I mean, to come back 3-0.
Oh yeah, they made history.
Right? Like that's insane.
It was the first time that happened since 1945 or something.
Something like that.
It was crazy. Yeah.
And the Leafs did it, but there was only like 2.5 teams in the league at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And I mean, the sucky thing now for the NHL is that everybody's going to do the top heavy cap thing because Connor and Draisaitl could do it. The team could ride them and they stayed healthy and they were able to do it 2 years in a row because they made it to the conference finals last year. So just one of those things where now I think everybody's they're going to draft their pick. They're the next McDavid and they're all going to be cap heavy onto 2 or 3 players. And
yeah.
Yeah, so I love a well-balanced team like Florida cap-wise. I love how that spread out. Same with the Golden Knights, they're like that. But I was so impressed with the Oilers that they were actually capable of doing it. I thought after last year's push, they would not have the stamina, the physical ability to do that again because they're so top-heavy and dependent on a few players. And they did it. Like, I was so impressed with the Oilers.
Yeah, they're a crazy team.
Have you been to any of the games at the Golden Knight games?
Yeah, I've been to quite a few. That is a crazy arena. Yeah, T-Mobile Arena. It is. They put on a show. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. You get a little Vegas experience every time you go to a game. They know how to put it on there. It's a very fun arena.
We've been to it a couple times when we've been out to Vegas, but I just remember the first time going to it, sitting at. I mean, it's the top area, but it still is very close. But it's just so like. It's scary to be drinking and in those seats.
yeah.
You're looking straight.
Yeah.
That's cool. Also, we should say Happy Canada Day, everybody. By the time this comes out 2 days later, it's going to be Canada Day. So Happy Canada Day, world.
That's right.
We have blessed upon you. Celebration. How old are we? 157? Probably the oldest country in the world.
I got to tell my wife Happy Canada Day. She's from Canada. She moved here with me like 2 years ago from Canada.
Where in Canada?
She was in Ontario. She was in Windsor.
Oh, we also have to say Happy America Day because we won't be recording and releasing until after it. So that too.
That too, I guess.
That too. Happy America Day.
I was, I spent a good portion of my life close to Windsor as well.
Nice. Yeah, I like it over there. It's cool.
Cool. How's she like Vegas compared to Windsor?
It's very dry.
A difference. Yeah.
Very hot and dry here. She took her a long time to get used to it. It's very different.
How long have you guys been there then now? 2 years?
I'm trying to think. I think probably close to 3 now that she's been here with me. I moved here again. I grew up here and then went to college in Kansas and then moved to Austin, Texas for 2 years and then came back here like 3 years ago.
Nice. What did you do in college? What'd you take?
I did film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's crazy.
So you're sort of in that area.
Sort of in the area. Yeah.
I do love the way you do your videos. The ones I've watched. I love the your sense of humor is very similar to how we are. It's quite
you
fun
made me
watching
laugh
them.
a lot in your PoE video. It was really good. Like the compliments you're getting weren't just because they're not schmoozy or anything. It was just they're legit.
No, they were good. I've got one that's my favorite, but we'll bring it up in a little bit. Yeah.
Cool.
Should we talk PoE? Let's
Yeah.
talk the event. Let's talk. So you get invited.
Yeah.
I assume that must have been a little. I watched your video and you talk about that being a little odd. Was that as odd as you say in the video? Like just.
Yeah, I was really on the fence about doing it because it was so out of nowhere and I had no idea. Like I'd always heard about PoE, I had never even seen gameplay of it. So I was like very just put off. I was like, I don't know what to think here. But I brought it up with a bunch of my RuneScape content creator friends and was letting them like know what the situation was, and they're like, well, you got to do it. They're like, you got to, and I was like, all right, I got to do it. And then they kind of pushed me in that direction, and I let them know I was going to do it. And I had no idea what to expect, but I'm glad I did it. It was fantastic.
I like that you decided not to attempt PoE before going. You just wanted to like go in brand new, no history or nothing. I think that was really smart.
Yeah, I definitely figured it was something that a lot of devs don't get to see firsthand, especially at an event like this where it's a lot of players who are veterans and have been playing about as deep as you can play for a long time. When you're that deep into a game, it's really hard to remember what it was like first ever touching the game, like your first time with it. Like once you get through like when you're going above like the 400, 500 hour mark is kind of when you kind of cut those memories into a distant memory kind of thing. And you don't remember what the experience was like first time. And, even before that, I mean, it's really hard to remember your very, very first impressions of the game, like true first impressions. So I wanted to do that because I knew I'd have some silly criticisms that players wouldn't have. And that's kind of just how I wanted to approach it, because I think it's important for games, especially, the passionate game developers they have. It was awesome to see. And, you want to see things like that, like from a new perspective that you just don't see, especially having not even played any ARPG before. If you want a new audience at all, like, getting new players that have never touched the genre, that's what I wanted to bring. I wanted to just bring up things that no one's thought about for a very long time, if ever. So I'm glad I did it.
For sure.
They've done sorry, just one sec. They've done events like at PAX and different things, and we've talked to a couple of the devs in some of our episodes, but and they've talked about that, watching the person that's playing that's never touched it before and trying to learn from them. But to be able to put somebody like yourself, and I don't know, there were probably others that had never played it either, to have a lot more input into it, I think is really good. Because for Tyler and I, we've always talked about the new player experience. It's been a big deal to us because we are both very casual. We just love the game. We love playing it.
Yeah.
We're not high level, but we've also had a lot of criticisms with things that turn away a new player or make it hard. I mean, Path of Exile 1 right now, to come into it as a new player would be exhausting. There's just so much information to understand and know if you want to have a good time.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Now, you spoke with some members from GGG. Did any of them talk to you about part of the idea of why you were invited, being somebody that's never played? Obviously, the assumption is because you've never played. And
yeah, no, I never
did
asked.
they talk about anything? No,
I never asked them. No, I wasn't going to question it, honestly.
Like, why am I here?
And also, I don't think the main devs even knew I was invited. Like, I don't even think they knew who I was when I went into the interview. You know, like I don't think if I asked them, they'd been like, I don't know. Like, why'd you invite me? They're like, what is you? Who are you? Well, so I mean, I wasn't gonna
my list.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna ask them or anything. But
we have like 250 episodes, and they probably don't know who we are either.
They got
same
thing.
Like they're running a company. They're busy. Yeah.
They have no idea what's going on. But yeah, no, I'm glad they invited me. It was very cool. I'm glad whoever decided to invite me, whoever that may have been, it was very, very cool.
And you were able to bring your wife, which is really cool. Did either of you have to sacrifice anything to come with maybe your normal content creation schedules, anything like that? Pets?
Pets, yes, because we have 2 prairie dogs, and prairie dogs are tough to have as pets if you travel, because they bond to only 1 or 2 people, and everyone else is kind of like very stranger to them. So they're
invading
tough.
the pack.
Yep. So we had to get my dad to come over and like feed them, like pour water into their bowls through the bars and stuff hay through the bars. And, you know, it's very interesting, but, yeah, no, I mean, that's about it. Luckily our jobs are, I mean, I know Nicole, my wife, she doesn't like missing too many days of streaming in a row, because it's very anxiety inducing, because there's just so much that goes into streaming and maintaining like a good view count and all that. But you know, 2 days isn't going to be anything crazy. So you know, we're very lucky to be in the position we're in of being able to just kind of decide on our feelings alone whether we want to do it or not. So it was very nice. And I'm glad she got to go, because her whole thing is basically experiencing things for the first time and going in with like a sense of wonder. And that's her favorite thing about gaming and how she approaches every game. So I was very happy that she got to come along too, because she helped me come up with a lot of the questions we asked.
So does she play like just variety games, or is she a specific game that she streams, or what? Yeah,
she does variety now. She actually started, we had met through Old School RuneScape content creation, and so she was way better at the game, still is way better at Old School than I am, and just better at video games in general than I am. She's very good at them, and right now she's doing Elden Ring, because a lot of people are doing Elden Ring and she loves that game. But before this, she was doing all the Bethesda games. She was going through Skyrim and Oblivion and Fallout. So she's just kind of been anywhere she hasn't been before right now, basically.
You had a clip in your video that made me laugh, where you were talking about that you mentioned that she's much better at video games than you, and that you like to read the tooltips, or were trying to read the tooltips. And I think you had just this picture of a ranger just sitting there waiting at the entrance. And I was like, so I am Nicole, and Tyler is you, because that was our experience as well.
All day. One of my wife's worst and favorite memories of us when we were newly married, we were in the apartment, and it's one of those things where it's like, you have that secondhand couch, you have your tube TV, because, you know, we had tube TV, and you're playing, and you that honeymoon phase. So, you know, I'm staying up late because I have the energy, and she's tired. So she's just going to sleep on my lap instead of going into the bedroom to fall asleep. You know, the good old days. And I'm gaming, and I'm playing Dark Souls 1. You ever played Dark Souls 1?
I have played it a little bit. So you remember the blacksmiths, right? Especially the one in the cathedral and kind of one of the beginning areas of the game. And I've never played Dark Souls before. I'm going through my first playthrough, but I'm starting to understand the game, but I'm terrified to level up. But I know if I don't level up, I'm going to lose my souls. So, you know, I'm there and I'm like, oh, what do I want to do? Oh, what do I want to do? And so one of my wife's memories, both the hate and the love, is her trying to fall asleep or get back to sleep. But all it is Andre the blacksmith going ting, 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 as I have a menu up, as I'm thinking about leveling up and what am I going to do with all my souls. And it's like 35 minutes. This is before broadcasting days, where I felt a little bit more pressure to make faster decisions. And, you know, it's just ding, ding, as I have my menu up nonstop. And I'm happy to take my time. I don't even hear the dinging. And for her,
she just nope. It's like a curse in her mind now. When she can't fall asleep, she starts hearing Andre, the blacksmith, just dinging away as I'm sitting at the side, or not side of grace. That's bonfire. Yeah, I hear you. Menus forever. They're the best.
That was funny. I was in that moment with Tyler when we were playing.
So you are both invited. You had the opportunity to chat with Jonathan, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And she helped you out with some questions, and it was really cool to meet you both in the lobby of the hotel. That was a really fun experience, and thank you for accommodating me.
Did you guys talk at the game part, right, when we were actually playing? Because I remember Tyler coming back to me. We were just playing and chatting, and a couple other people were chatting with us, and he's like, "Oh, I met this awesome couple. They've never even played Path of Exile before," and both of us were like, "That's bananas! Like coming out to play this with no experience in Path of Exile. Like I can't imagine that experience. I mean, we had fun with Path of Exile 2 as a very new experience, and we've played thousands of hours of Path of Exile 1.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine what that was like from just no experience at all, like just coming into it fresh.
Yeah, it was a little daunting at first, just because when we did first walk in, they were talking. I mean, they were showcasing some of like the witch gameplay, and we didn't even know it was a new class at the time. Like we were just watching it, like, whoa, like this looks crazy, like all these spells going on, and they were talking about like new features a little bit, and they weren't new features to us, but I mean they were, but not in the same way, of course, and. I don't know. I mean, I mentioned it in the video, but we were kind of just sitting there just waiting to go pick up a controller because we wanted to just go jump in and try it. And when we did, I mean, it wasn't hard to learn. I mean, it was just like how most action games are. You swing at the bad guys and hit them and don't die. And I mean, that's kind of just how you start and pick up each thing as you go along. But it wasn't like an intimidating experience or anything. Like it wasn't hard to jump into. So I was happy in that sense. It was just when later down the line, things started to slowly congest into more and more things to start looking into and understanding like pretty quickly. So
when I watched your video, it was kind of funny hearing a lot of the stuff you were talking about. Because Tyler, I think we'd put out one episode already. I don't remember. Maybe our second one was out or coming out. But a lot of the stuff you talked about, like I love that you mentioned the nostalgic feeling of playing couch co-op, because that was a big thing for us. We used to do it growing up. Like the console games, and you're playing together. I can remember like some of the X-Men games and different like just games where you were two players sort of role playing as you're leveling up and stuff, but getting to be on the same couch. And that was a big deal for us. It was probably one of the funnest parts about it, was just playing with a buddy. Yeah, like that reminded me of being a kid.
Yeah, I hadn't played. I mean, I think the only things I'd played couch co-op in the past like 10 years is just anything sports, like NHL. We played a lot of NHL in college, like me and my buddies, and I mean that's always fun. But I've never really played any. I mean, obviously ARPG, new genre to me, so anything of it would be new. But playing like anything in a like fighting game genre, couch co-op, I haven't done in a really, really long time. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I did that. So that was really cool being able to play a game of this sort of a setting, fantasy, sword, magic, never done that before. So that was really cool.
It was pretty rad that they actually gave couches.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Not just, conference chairs and you're sitting next to each other. They're just legit couches.
Their setup was crazy.
Get stinky together and play hard.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. So the game itself, did you like the game by the time you were done? I mean, it was obviously a cool experience, maybe a little bit hyped because of just the unique experience of having a comp play and come play our game. We care about your opinion. But now that it's kind of settled and you've been back for a bit, when you look back, did you actually enjoy the game? Is it your style of game?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I could definitely see myself trying it when it comes out. I think it was just, there were some things about it that I think I would have honestly had an easier time with if I was playing on PC, just because I'm so not used to configuring with like UI on controllers anymore. And I think little things like the fact that it was couch co-op and I was experiencing a UI that was built for 2 players that would be slightly different if it was just solo. I think it'd be easier to navigate it if I was playing solo. So I think the couch co-op is a very unique experience that might make for like a different first time playthrough than solo playthrough, obviously. So I think looking back, like, if I go in, I feel like if I went in solo, I would have had a few different opinions with the complexities that I experienced with the UI and configuring abilities and weapons and all that. But other than that, I think the gameplay itself, which is probably the most important part, was really fun and enjoyable. So that was really fun, like fighting the mini bosses and getting through the end of like, you know, little tunnels of dungeons and finding the thing they want you to find at the end and killing it. That was all fun, which is by far the most important part of the game. At least for the, you know, the new players, this is the most important part to keep them there. Is the combat has to be fun, and it was very fun. So I enjoyed it a lot. We had a lot of fun with it.
You talked about in your video the character creation side of things, you know, the lack of, I guess, character creation, because they did make it so that if you created a character, you were just randomly given a name. Like normally you do get some custom character, you know, you get to pick a name, but that's about it. Do you think that makes, like, I was curious when I was listening to you say that, because I do understand it. I know people spend hours what was the last one that came out where it came out ahead of time where you could like build your character?
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Right. Which we played the crap out of. I love Dragon's Dogma 1. But it always makes me curious when people, like, I didn't do it. I messed around with it. I always hit the random button. Any game that gives me a random button is my favorite when it comes to custom character, because I just don't have the patience for it. But like you do it in all the games. I think you mentioned it, like you love that part of it. Do you still love it even when you're not really seeing the character?
Oh, like, yeah.
Really?
I do. Yeah. I think I've just always, funny enough, I think the games that did it for me, that did character creation when I got really into it, was like the earlier, like the first time I could create my own guy on NHL was mind-blowing to me. And I think ever since then, ever since I got to create myself or just some goofy character in like a sports game like that and play through their career, I'd always wanted to do it in every game. So, you know, RPGs especially, because I mean, I saw a lot of arguments for it. Because my video got posted to Reddit by me, and then a few other people posted it to other PoE Reddits, and just it circulated. So I got to look around. Obviously, Reddit, it can't go in.
We know Reddit. We know Reddit.
Anyone who makes content and who's seen their stuff on Reddit has just seen the most ridiculous things that people spew out of their stupid brains. It's a dumb website. 100%. It's a stupid website with stupid people. But there are a lot of like normal people. You know, there's some normal people on there too. But the biggest thing I saw, that because of how much emphasis I put on character creation, I saw a lot of comments about that, and it did put a new perspective in it for me, because I truly didn't know about PoE or anything that they were thinking of. So I mean, obviously I was surprised that there wasn't a character creation, but as people kind of explained it to me, which was great, by the way, the PoE community, a lot nicer than most communities, I'd say, in my experience.
We don't know. Okay.
Wow. In my experience, as a new player, I mean, there was as a new player,
I could see that.
There was a few dicks, obviously. There's always going to be, but I didn't get spit up and chewed. These guys weren't bad. No. A lot of them were very nice in their explanation of things, and they thought it was very interesting that I was bringing things up that they hadn't thought about before because they've been playing it for so long. And character creation, obviously, being one of those things. Since a lot of people they thought of their character creation as their builds, and they were saying, I've created hundreds of characters, but not through the a character creation system. I've created them through the build system, like the skill tree. That's they have a complete different idea of what character creation means, that correlates directly to PoE as a game, which I thought was really interesting. And I also couldn't understand it entirely because, I have no idea about the builds and like that, how deep it gets. So, obviously I see that it's a very different thing entirely on PoE, like the whole system. So a lot of players feel as if there is a character creation system, but not in the way that I'm thinking of changing the way their face and hair is. But
though, to sway you back to your original opinion, now that Path of Exile, when you bring up your inventory screen and such, like you never really have a good look of your character in Path of Exile 1. It's just it's always distant. It's always that bird's eye view of your character. There's not really a zoom in factor for it. Even when you're putting on MTX, the MTX screens are garbage too. But in Path of Exile 2, they're adding that inventory screen. If you were on single player, you guys probably did couch co-op, but you saw in the video that they showed us at the beginning, when you zoom in and you're doing your character and changing your inventory, you have that big zoom in of your character now.
That's what I brought up to Jonathan.
That's right. That is true. So hopefully that's something that swayed him, because he's swayed on a lot of things that GGG used to be quite big sticks in the mud for, and for their own good reasons, but the things that they never wanted to change, they've been completely open to changing for PoE 2. And since you brought up that video, that's not something, because Path of Exile is all about the theory crafting, the character creation for, does this skill work with this tree and this selection and this class ascendancy and these unique items? It's all about, does this combination of all this crap that I'm thinking of work? Will it destroy endgame or not?
Right.
But now that I can see my character up front, I'm going to be looking at the exact same character for the next 10,000 hours if I fall in love with a certain class. Like I'm zombies, I'm minions, like I'm always going to be the witch.
You brought it up.
What?
My favorite comment in his video. It's a little bitch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I laughed. I laughed the hardest at that part.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ty.
No, it's good. It's good. That was a good one. But I'm going to be staring at her face the whole time. But again, no matter what I do with my build, she's going to look exactly the same. Maybe.
That's how they'll look at it.
But you know what? When I play Elden Ring, when I play Dark Souls, I hate wearing stuff that covers my face. I will always, if I'm playing a game that gives me the option to hide the helmet so I don't lose the stats, I'll do it because I always want to see the face. I had a female character when I first created Elden Ring, and I wanted everyone to see that I had a female character because, of course, everybody plays games, but there's still a whole lot of people in communities that are like, you're a girl and you play video games. So, I made my female character. I want my female character to be seen, and I refused to wear any helmets that would hide her face or her ponytail. So it'd be kind of, I don't know. I like seeing the face. So
every game that has a hide helmet option is goated. Mm-hmm. I love games that do that so much because it makes all the character creation screens worth it. I love games that let you hide the helmet.
I feel like most games that don't come out with it very quickly add it, because I think that's quite a common feeling amongst gamers, especially if you're going to have character creation. It makes no sense at all to give somebody the option to create their character and then just slam a helmet on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very quick solution to the whole, you'd never see your character again. It's like, oh, well, just hide the helmet then. Add a toggleable option. Can't be that crazy of a thing to program, surely.
No,
I say, knowing nothing about programming.
For us, we do that all the time. Just put a button.
Just put it in. It's not hard, we think.
Yep, exactly it. Oh man, that is the PoE community.
It's every community, honestly.
We're guilty of it. Justin and I are totally guilty of it. We like to say we're not, but we are. The stuff that we'd like to be fixed, we assume it's easy.
Well,
man,
the stuff that you brought up for stuff that were fixed is at least the stuff that when I watched it, it was stuff that Tyler and I had talked about, except -1. The one that I was like, we both were frustrated by is the multiple turn-ins, and there's got to be a solution to that. Like where you're playing co-op and both of you have to go in.
Yeah,
when you both have to turn in a quest, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they can probably solve that one relatively easy. And then the other one that you brought up that I actually never even thought of, it didn't cross our minds. We never ran into that situation, but it was such a great point, and there's no chance they don't fix it for when it comes out, was the idea that you couldn't equip an item because of the skill. And
yeah,
I mean, your way of doing it, I love the dramatic style of the just like, you can't close your hand around this sword.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It's weird because in Path of Exile 1, the sockets are in your items. And so in Path of Exile 2, they've moved that out. So the sockets are no longer in your items. They're actually just a UI within your character itself. So in Path of Exile 1, if I swapped a weapon, but an item on my chest with sockets required it, it would just be red. I just wouldn't be able to use it. It wouldn't stop me from equipping the item. So I feel like it's just an oversight, or they just need to turn it a little bit, because I don't like the way they have it now when you brought it up, because we didn't experience that, but where you just can't do it, even though it does tell you like, hey, you need to unequip these skills. It would actually work better to just let you put the item on and be like, hey, I can't use my skills anymore. How do I fix that?
Yeah. When I brought that up to Jonathan, I think he was saying they're going to have a different way of organizing, because that was a big thing too, is I didn't learn until like we were almost done playing that when that ability thing came up where you're supposed to like pick the abilities, there was like a button you press to toggle to the other classes or something to like go to their weapons that had it would have been completely different abilities entirely, and I didn't know that at all. I was like, why would I go to the monk tree as a warrior? That doesn't make sense. Like, why would I ever find myself going over there? And so I think he was talking about changing it to say like the weapons up there instead of the class, which I think would have helped immediately. It would have been a step in the right direction. But I also got a lot of shit because I was complaining that it didn't say what weapon it required or something. I don't remember what the criticism was, but it did say it somewhere. It does, yeah. It says
small text,
very small text somewhere when you're scrolling over it, only on that screen.
Right.
But on other screens, anywhere else, it doesn't say. Yeah. And I think I put that clip there as I'm talking about it to show that it is there, even though it was contradicting exactly what I was saying. But you know.
But you still bring up a good point, though. Irrelevant if the information was there. If the information's there and you don't notice it, the information's not. It's pointless information to have on the screen. They need to present it in a better way so that you're making your decisions easier. They just need to change how or when that information is available to you, so you're not wasting your time. We had a few instances. I mean, we're PoE vets, and we had quite a few instances where we were like, why isn't this working? What's going on? We spend 20 minutes of our 6-hour gameplay session trying to figure out something because it's just not intuitive. Mm-hmm. And like all three of us know, it's a gameplay test. Like lots is going to change, but. Yeah, don't listen to those people that are telling you, oh, the information was there. That's my Reddit voice. Yeah, the information was there. What are you talking about? Because if it's not something that you notice, they need to do a better job of making you notice.
Issue with, and people mocked me in our video, which was funny, that I had spent currency fixing up a lance or a halberd or something just to find out that I couldn't use it with the skills that I was using. Right. And I was like, well, I didn't even notice that it said only maces. So yeah, I mean, we were in that same boat, and I actually thought your points were great. I think it should work similar to how it does in PoE 1, which is let me put the item on and then let me not use the skill. And let me adjust my skills then, because otherwise it's very hard to try to adjust your skills and then put the weapon on versus I equip the weapon and then I pick the skills based on that weapon. That seems like a much easier solution.
It is just overall, it is a pretty jarring system. I mean, I think I'm curious how they do make it more accessible, because even thinking and talking about it now, I'm like, man, that is so much going on. Like, that's a lot to take in. I really hope they have a simpler way of doing things. Like, obviously, PoE is built for this long-term build system end game kind of thing that requires a lot of, specifics like that. But just as a new player, it stresses me out just thinking about it. Like going in and thinking about unequipping those things in my sockets and figuring out what I need to put them in because I want to hold something. And I don't know if that's more of a problem because I was playing a warrior and they can hold a lot of things, so it's going to be more things to adjust later. But I mean, it was just very confusing overall. It wasn't. I wouldn't say that part is new player friendly yet. I think that is definitely the roughest part of the game, especially since it interrupts gameplay entirely. I think that might just be a PoE fundamental flaw, is this system, as long as they have it with the sockets and everything, and the abilities not working with certain weapons, that's just always going to interrupt gameplay and stop you in your tracks, which I know a lot of players like doing that part of the game. I think a lot of players do like sitting there and configuring it. But to me, that almost feels like the same way you'd feel like micromanaging shit in Civilization 6. Like it has that same vibe of like, I don't want to do this. I want to play. I want to, like, you know, go attack things. I want to get past this part. I should know what I already have unlocked. Like, don't stop me from doing things. It's weird. And I think the biggest, someone deleted their comment because they made such a dumb point that I responded back to them because it was so stupid. I had to respond, which is so rare.
Those are the best, and good for you.
Yeah, and they were like, "Okay, so you play WoW, but you don't understand that you can't equip a different weapon because of the class you're playing? Like, that's so stupid." And I'm like, no, you're stupid, dude. As a warrior, I know I can't hold a bow. I know I can't hold a staff. That's dumb. Of course I can't do that. But as a warrior in World of Warcraft, I can hold an axe or a two-handed mace or a two-handed axe or a sword or a two-handed sword, and all of my abilities are still functioning. I'm still a warrior. I have the things I can hold. I have the set of weapons I am able to hold, and my abilities never change. That's a whole different game, a whole different style. You can't compare that. Of course I understand that classes are associated to weapons. That's how most games are. But don't stop me from holding a warrior weapon as a warrior because of these abilities. That was the frustrating part. So I don't know. It's all over the place. It's hard to grasp.
I think they're in a really weird spot because if you go back in the day with Path of Exile, so like I've played since closed beta, Tyler's played since early, I think open beta or just after it, I don't remember, but
I've been playing since before the game existed.
Nice.
Right. Yeah. And their mentality back then, and it lasted for a really long time, I would say it even still exists now with Path of Exile 1, is that they understand that they're not the game for everybody. They're not noob friendly. They're fine with that. They've always been like, this game is hard. You have to put in the time. You have to figure it out, that blah, blah, blah. But then they've gone into the shift with PoE 2 where they want to be more accessible. They want to be more friendly to somebody to come in and play. And I feel like they're in this weird spot of trying to figure out how to make that work, because the fact is Path of Exile, even Path of Exile 2 is still a massive game. There's a lot to understand and to know. And I think they're trying to find a way to make it more accessible. And I think there's still some hurdles that they have to get over if that's the direction that they want to go.
It's a tough situation because Path of Exile 1, they're a very thoughtful company. They do their best and there's nothing but appreciation for them. But the game itself, it's not user first. There's so much that just gets pushed by the wayside that just other games would most definitely have, but very basic quality of life or information has just been pushed to the side for so long in Path of Exile 1. This is kind of their first time really shoving a lot of resources at the new player experience, but they're a free-to-play game, and the free-to-play model is to try and get as many people to stick. Like, you have to accommodate the new player experience, not dumb your game down, but at least let them know what they're doing. At least let them know the decisions that they have available in front of them and how to move forward with that. And Path of Exile 1, in that regards, is a horrendous free-to-play game, because they are free-to-play, as the three of us discussed in LA. Shoot, I kind of forget what I was saying, so my apologies. But no, it's just one of those things where Path of Exile 1 has never had that direction, despite the fact that it has the same business model as the free-to-play. So this is their first time really putting all that time and millions of dollars of resources into that first player experience. So for us, it's really exciting just to see all that effort. But it also very interesting to see and hear comments from people like yourselves, along with other first-time players, to see still how much, even though GGG's put in all this towards the new player experience, there's still a long ways to go.
Yeah, there's a long ways to go.
Yeah, even though, like Justin said, the game's not going to be for everybody, right?
No,
you look at that massive passive tree, and right away, that's your filter. That either excites you or turns you off. If it turns you off, well, great, right? Then go find something else to do with your time and have a good time. And if that excites you, well, then you're the player that GGG is going to revolve the first new game experience around. When you look at that tree, does that excite you? Does that bore you?
I guess
terrify you?
As a new player, it doesn't excite me because I don't understand the depth of it right away. Sure. Because every PoE player is saying that is the game. Like that skill tree is the game. That is what you're working towards, and that's what is basically dictating everything that you're doing, like all the decisions you're making as you play. And as a new player, I don't know that. Like, I don't understand what that means, what that entails. I don't know how important these decisions are that I'm making. Like, as I'm going through the skill tree, I'm kind of just picking things and hoping it helps me get stronger. And from what I can understand is those decisions matter a lot. And I don't know. That's just the impression I've gotten based on like comments, but I don't know how serious that skill tree is to the rest of the gameplay. Sure. Like, I don't know if it's going to make or break the game for me, which is tough because in a game like, I mean, I guess World of Warcraft is on my mind because I was just talking about it, but the skill tree in classic WoW, at least, can absolutely break your gameplay if you don't put it in the right things. Like, certain builds in that tree are so much different than other builds. Like, they can absolutely, I mean, they're so different that the trees literally turn you from a DPS to a healer to a tank, depending on what you pick. So it's like, how important is that tree compared to something like classic WoW, where it is like extremely important, but in PoE, it feels like you're making so many decisions in that tree all the time that it also doesn't feel that important yet. So it's very weird. It's very weird to try and grasp it of how important it is to the gameplay. But I don't know. It is kind of daunting. But I will say, as I was playing it for the first time, it didn't feel important. So I don't know if that is something it should be off the bat, or if it just truly doesn't matter when you're first starting, whether you're picking the right things or not, if you're going in the right direction.
I think too, one of the things that was, I think it's a little bit unfortunate, but when you first get introduced to the game in a couch co-op, you don't get that like wow feeling when you open the tree, because it was so small and zoomed in. Whereas, when you're playing on the single player and you get that whole tree filling your screen, and you actually realize just the epicness and size of that tree. But I do think that they did a good job of making it way more accessible for a new person to fix a mistake in the tree than in current Path of Exile. Because in current Path of Exile, it's very difficult to take back a choice. They made it a lot easier in this one to just pay some gold and you can, move your tree back. But the fact is that tree does make or break a character 100% in Path of Exile.
Yeah.
It's a matching game, really. Like, you fall in love with a skill, so you invest in that skill, and you'll invest in that skill with both your items and in your passive tree, just to make that stronger. And of course, then there's the survivability as you go through. One thing, I don't know if you're going to continue dabbling in Path of Exile after this point or not, or if it's just a thing of the past, but if you're going to continue dabbling in it, one thing to encourage you with is the people that are telling you what Path of Exile is like, they've never played Path of Exile 2. None of them. If anything, despite the fact that they have 10,000 hours in Path of Exile 2, you have more gameplay experience with Path of Exile 2 than they do. Right? They don't have any experience in the game.
Yeah, I got to do like an actually moment to one of them, and it was awesome.
Glasses slide.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And so, but that's the thing. Like, GGG could be changing this game so much that someone else's experience, like their assumptions and their experience going into Path of Exile 2 could be a huge hindrance to them. And you might have a bigger, anyway, point is that you actually have the experience with the game. They don't. And GGG is the only one that knows what's going forward. So don't take too much of what people have to say. I mean, you already seem very good at, letting things just brush off your shoulders, but yeah, you're the one with the experience, not them. So they can stick it.
True. You brought up another point in your video that it's funny. I remember experiencing it, and I know Tyler and I talked about it, but we never actually brought it up, which was the fog of war, where every time you were going to town and then going back, the map was new.
Yeah.
So in Path of Exile 1, that does not happen. If I leave a zone and come back to it within 8 minutes, I think is the timer, the zone is still, whatever I've explored is still there, unless I choose to, on PC, control click where I'm going to go. And then that will let me actually open up a new instance of the zone. And then it's not cleared and I have to re-clear it. Whereas in PoE 2, it seems like every time you enter the zone, unless you've used a portal.
Yeah, the portal was, I noticed that. That was the one time. I forgot to mention that in the video, is when we teleported, it stayed the same.
Right.
But if we didn't teleport.
No, you would maybe waypoint back, or you would just, however you would get back. But you did actually bring up a good point that I do remember us experiencing, which is like, why is this zone new? And in your points in the video, you were like, if I'm exploring and there's new things that I can find, that's cool then.
Yeah.
You talked about finding the burrow, but the problem is that's not how Path of Exile is. Like, this zone will always have these things. Now, I know they have plans with PoE 2 to try and make the campaign not feel like, so for us it's a slog. I hate the campaign in Path of Exile 1. I just want to get to endgame. They're trying to make the campaign different each time you go through it, so that may be why it does that. But it was a weird thing that we experienced too, where we were trying to do a quest, we had to get to a tree, and we were like, what the hell? Like, we were just at the tree.
Yeah,
how do we find this tree again?
I think the tree was what we ran into.
Yeah,
that was we were searching forever. But also, before I forget this whole burrow thing, this is something that was very interesting that I didn't realize until I was editing the PoE 2 review video, where I was talking about the whole like finding something by chance, and how that was very interesting. And I was talking about the burrow, but I realized after looking at it that was not by chance, and that was a quest. I didn't
you got
find
the quest
that
reward as soon as you killed it. It says, "Oh, you talked to so and so."
And the reason I thought that is because Jonathan said that was a random thing I found in the interview. I have it in audio of him telling me that was a random encounter and that was a thing I could stumble upon, but it was a freaking quest.
It's an actual quest.
It was a quest. That wasn't a random thing. I was supposed to go find that. That's not what I want. I want things I'm not supposed to find, So I think, obviously it was just a funny thing I realized, but it would be really nice to just have these things that have a chance of spawning in the instances. If they're going to fog of war you, don't just randomly generate the branches in a different like coordinated area, don't just spread them out differently and make me jump over something in a different part I jumped over last time. Have something new for me there. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just very ignorant feelings towards it because I haven't experienced most of the game, but as a new player, I wanted to, we were excited to find that burrow because we didn't know that there was a quest there, is what we experienced. Sure. And, that's what we wanted. I want to go into a burrow and find a quest inside, at least, right. I want to go and find things that not everyone else is going to find immediately. That was one of the things I really liked about Dragon's Dogma 2. Is there were a lot of things that I didn't know existed until I saw other people talking about it. Like, oh, if you do this at this spot at this time, then this quest appears and this chain of events happens. It was very unique and I love that. Obviously, very different game. Don't get me wrong, very different game. But it was just nice to have that sense of a unique experience, especially this fog of war aspect promotes a unique experience. It's supposed to be like this, you know, you're not experiencing the same thing as the person next to you, but also at the same time you are, except his tree's over here. You know, that's the only difference. But if the fog of war is there, it should be like, you really don't know what you're about to walk into, kind of thing. Like, that defeats the whole purpose of fog of war in my eyes. So I don't know.
I can't figure out which direction they're going with that one, because if I think of it from a PoE standpoint, the fog of war exists there for your first time running through. And as long as, again, you're back there within 8 minutes, it stays explored. I would think they would be maintaining that plan. So I didn't really understand why the fog of war kept resetting, because the fact is, at least currently, if you look at from PoE 1 standpoint, but also what we experienced playing PoE 2, nothing changed. We didn't, like, we encountered random bosses, but those random bosses weren't random in the sense that we could have found them in different zones. They were always going to spawn in that zone. Be in that zone. It just, you didn't know where they were gonna spawn. So the fog of war confused me as well, because it didn't match with PoE 1, and it didn't make sense for PoE 2.
Yeah.
What you're referring to that's a big part of how Endgame currently works in the original game, is investing in certain aspects of your instances so that you have the opportunity for certain styles of instances to show that have different types of rewards, so you can kind of focus on what kind of reward types you want for drops. So that's a big part of what it currently is, but it's based on investment, and the rest of the randomness is all based, it's all kind of the same, where, like we were talking about, the areas are random, but they're the same. The same things are going to spawn in there, just at different locations. But enemies are always random. Enemy mods are always random. So even though the level layout is random, but not in an interesting way, everything else to do with the game is, whether it's loot or the mods that drop on them, or the enemies or the mods that roll on them. And so that makes every other instance a terrifying instance, for example, but it doesn't add that unique discoverability that you were talking about for quests. In items, yes, because that's the cornerstone of the game, items, but not in questing. I have a very important 2 questions. One, does anyone else need to go to the bathroom? I've been pinching for like half an hour and I can't go. Can we give like 2 seconds?
Go for it, dude.
All right, right on. And then I have the most important question you will ever hear when I come back. Okay. And I'm not going to remember it.
This is like every episode. You said you were doing podcast stuff too, or you've done podcast stuff?
Yeah. I've done a podcast. We haven't done it for a while. We were very inconsistent for a while. I'll post a link to it.
It's pretty common with podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah. I linked in our group chat, like the podcast we used to do. Okay. We haven't done it in a while.
Good guys making a good podcast. I love it. Who were the people involved?
It was just me and my friend Aaron, and we're both like, you know, the RuneScape guys, and he was the reason I was living out in Austin, because he lived there and we were making a lot of videos together, and so I went out there. But yeah, we just both just kind of lost interest in doing it a lot. Like, we were very inconsistent in the first place, and just our schedules never lined up, and we just got so busy with real life stuff. And
we talked to a number of people who have done podcasts in the PoE space, and I don't know if anybody outside of it, but that seems to be the pretty consistent issue for a lot of them. The benefit for us is just that we're real life buddies who are doing it literally just for fun. So it makes it very easy for us to just be like, all right, let's do it this day.
Yeah.
We're gonna hook up. And we don't care what we talk about.
me and Nicole were so like blown away when we, you know, because I basically looked up Forever Exiled as soon as you'd walked away, that like from the table, and I was like, I cannot believe how dedicated these guys are. Like, I could never do this. I tried doing this. You guys are 200, almost 300 episodes in. It's like, I can't believe it. It's like, that is...
We've made it so that it's very simple. Like, we just... The recording process is set. My editing processing is like nailed down after this many episodes. So I know how to do it, when to do it, whose EQ I'm using, and it's out. And because we don't do video, it's way easier.
Way easier,
Way easier.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Adding video is just exhausting. Like I said, we've done it a couple times and I hate it every single time.
Yeah, we always did video and it was so annoying because not only do you have to, sync up everyone's audio, but then you have to make sure everyone's video is synced up with their audio. Mm-hmm. And then we had so many times where it would just go wrong because people didn't know how to like record their own video very well through like OBS or something. So we had multiple episodes where we just ended up having to like halfway through, we'd have their video and then put up like a filler icon over their face or something, oh yeah, they lost it, but
one brutal benefit Justin and I had to kind of get going is like we started in 2019, I think it was end of 2019.
Yeah, it was right after ExileCon.
Right. So as we started getting going, COVID hit. And so like the schedules started shutting down and like things just became a lot more the schedules were open to kind of come up with some consistency, right? And so we were able to do our first 50 episodes under lockdown, right? And so that provided us, because we have our busy lives outside of that now that COVID's gone, but that was actually a nice, well, not nice because COVID sucked, but it benefited us in that regards and being able to just have some consistency at the beginning and get used to things.
I think the biggest benefit was just that we actually have known each other since we were kids. So it's super simple. We just turn the mics on and go. We don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's so nice. Grade 5. Damn.
Grade 5. And now we're old.
I don't think I know anyone from grade 5 anymore. Oh, yeah? I know them, but I don't, I don't.
Sure.
I'm not close with them anymore. That's awesome.
We're actually that blessed. A lot of the people that we still hang out with are from either elementary school or high school.
There's like 5.
And we're talking like mid 90s when Justin and I met. I think it was 90, 95.
Something like that. I don't remember. It's a long time ago.
Wow.
All right. You got your question, Ty. I've marked it. We're back.
We
never left. What are we talking about?
Right. But I would like to let all of our listeners know who always make fun of me for not washing my hands. I always wash my hands.
Debatable.
And I definitely did wash my hands for you too. I always
now maybe you won't get so sick.
Jimmy. Whenever I go to Justin's house, Jimmy. Let me tell you a really crappy story. Whenever I go to Justin's house, they have like the most like fruitiest over the top
soap for Tyler,
and it's not for me. But I've always enjoyed that. Like when you're hosting people and you're having people over for games or whatever, have like that crazy scented soap in that main bathroom that everybody's going to use, because as soon as they come back, you either smell it or you don't. And you know exactly who you don't want touching the dice.
That's our
If they come back and you can't smell that super fruity soap, you go back in there. Wash those hands.
Telling you. Anyway, what's your question? You had
what's the question?
You had an epic question. You left us just teetering on this epicness of a question.
So for our listeners, we've referenced Jimmy's reaction video to the playtest that he went to. We'll make sure to post it in the notes so that you know, because we've referenced it a lot. So we'll definitely, we haven't forgotten. We're thinking of you. But since your video, you've obviously gone through a lot of the comments and a lot of the sections, and who knows what Path of Exile is going to have for you in the future, whether you're going to care about it much or not. But has any of your thoughts or opinions since your reactionary video changed?
Yeah, I think so. I guess what we had already discussed a little bit is about the character creation thing.
Sure.
Just because now I understand more so that players do see a form of character creation from building their characters throughout their playthrough. And just, I saw a few players say, I don't know if it was exaggerated, but a few comments, so the only reason I'm thinking it's not exaggerated, said that they had built hundreds of characters. And I don't know how realistic that is. Do people build hundreds of characters?
Yeah, every 3 to 4 months so the way that PoE works is typically they like to say they run on a 3-month schedule. So every 3 months it's a new league. So if you think, I don't know, you didn't even play Diablo, but it was like ladders and seasons and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. They do a new league what it used to be was every 3 months there's a new league. Over the last like 2 years or so, it's been like every 4 months. But yeah, every 3 to 4 months, if you play the league, which is what the majority of players do, there is a standard version, which is just, that's your character. it's never changed. You just play it for as long as you want, and you'll eventually get the content that is sometimes within the league if they choose to keep it. But yeah, every 3 to 4 months, the game resets. You're starting from zero if you want to play the league, and you create a new character. So
wow.
Yeah, for sure, hundreds of characters.
And,
wow.
well, definitely, because a lot of people like it when you think about a game that has 600 active skills, but then there's all these other supports that can change even just how one skill works, let alone any of the 600. There's lots that interest you, right? So it's kind of like, those gifs where it's like the guy's holding the girl's hand and she's looking at him and she's all disgusted because he's looking back and he's going like to the girl that just walked past. He's looking over his shoulder. That's what PoE is like. You're making a build and you're stoked about this build. You planned for it. You can't wait to get going. You're really hoping for these drops. It's progressing well. And you've been theory crafting for so long. And now you're finally getting into it that you're not even finished building your character and you're thinking about another build already.
Yeah.
Right? You're looking over your shoulder. And then as soon as you get with that build, you're looking over your shoulder at another. Like there's just so many things that interest you. So it's not uncommon for people to play 5 to 10,
4, 5,
right,
10
per league. Now, again, it's if people have the time. I'm one of those people where I can play maybe 6 hours a week. I have all these builds I'd love to play, but I only play the one build over and over and over. But yeah, it wouldn't be, especially if you've been. But if you play, so they have 3 months, right? So that's 4 leagues a year. If you're doing that often, like 5 characters a league, like that adds up real fast,
especially over the years. Yeah, so it's another reason why for me I wouldn't actually care about the character creation, because I just want to get in. My whole goal when I create a character is as fast as I possibly can is get to the end game, because that's where the fun for me is. I don't like the campaign. I don't like it. For me, it's a slog. I just can't stand it. But
so I think people are gonna just tell me to shut up when I'm saying this, but here's what you do: is every time you make you make your character once when the game first comes out, and then that's your preset for every character.
Yes. And you can import it to every character.
Yes, every character you make, you have your character ready to go. And if you want to change anything, you can, but you'll always have your character if you want it. And you hide that little helmet. You always got your character in a new build. Yeah, there it is.
Amen. That's the Dragon Dogma 2 character creation screen, right?
Yeah, they got to add the hide button.
I got my wife to create herself that I was going to play. She was going to be my pawn. Yeah. I got her to make, because I couldn't get it. I couldn't nail it. She was like the ugliest. I mean, I was, this is so beautiful. But I was making the ugliest versions of my wife that I could. I couldn't nail it. So she spent like 3 hours making my pawn for me. I would love to be able to do that in Path of Exile 1 and just import it every time. Every time I'm a female character, just import that face or whatever.
I think Dragon's Dogma 2, it's so funny you said that. We did the exact same thing because Nicole made herself as my pawn. So she did it too, because I was like, I don't know how to do this, But I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is a huge reason. Like that showed just how fun those character creators can be, even if you're terrible at it. There's so many there's like a whole subreddit dedicated to people making goofy characters on there, because I've never seen such accurate character creations of real people. Like I can't believe people are that good at it, but you know, it was really cool seeing it. So I guess that's why I'm still in such a pro character creation mood, is because recently that Dragon's Dogma 2 was awesome. Like that was so cool.
I heard people make the argument that with regards to character creation, that while it's an ARPG, the barbarian, for example, that you're actually playing that character, that you are that person, and that's why there's no character creation. Like I was trying to think of some of the other games that they were talking about, but the idea of the like
Diablos
the Witcher
are like that,
but like in Witcher, I'm Geralt. Like the idea that the barbarian is the barbarian. That's why he is the character. That's why there's no editing this character. Which I guess you could make. For me, it's the MTX. You just throw all the shit on that makes you shiny and crazy looking, and then you don't even see the character. Like literally, I've never seen my character. I actually really love that zoom in when you're in the inventory, just because it looks so cool. We've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I had a screenshot pulled up of that, and that was actually the entire reason I get. Well, not. Well, yeah, it was the entire reason this popped up, is when we first walked in and watching that Witch gameplay, when they pulled up the inventory and I saw the character, and that's what I told Jonathan when I talked to him. I was like, I was so excited to go make my own character because it looked like such a good character, and then I got there and I couldn't, and that was so, you know, it was like a disappointing thing. And it's like, if you want to play a warrior, I can't remember. I think it was. Do you guys know Josh Strife Hayes? You ever seen his stuff before?
He's interviewed Jonathan a few times.
Yeah, he's super into the MMO world, and basically, I think it was a joke at one point of just like a joke of like a guy wanting to play a ranger, and he's like, I hate to break this to you, but you're not a ranger. Like, you're not, that's not what you do. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, no, girls hold the bows. You're not, you know, it's like, you can't even pick to be a dude if you want to be a ranger, you know. It's like, that is true. You know, like, let someone play and at least you could have the same character. I mean, even a character heavy game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and, you know, I don't know, people are going to be like, that game is the worst thing you can compare right now, but it's the same story with the character gender of your choosing. They have two entirely different things. So it's like, I mean, how many lines realistically do you think that each of these characters says out loud?
I think I think they've actually expanded on it a lot, but my guess is a couple hundred for the first game, but I think they've done thousands for the second game.
So one other,
I think they're tied to the gender.
Just change the pitch.
Change the pitch.
Just adjust the pitch.
All I'm saying is they could absolutely have two voice actors per class and just have them say the same lines and just create one extra model. I mean, even that itself would be pretty nice.
Just press the button.
Just press
the
button.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything. It's just fun. Just do it.
Oh, they absolutely could have they've got funds to do it. They've earned the funds to pay the voice actors today off microtransactions. There's no way that
they're doing fine.
They're doing fine. They've
also got Tencent behind them.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, it's funny. Whether they add character creation to the game or not is kind of low on my priority or preference list, but it still would be really cool because I'm that same. Like, I don't care about character creation until I can create my character, and all of a sudden, I've been in there for 3 hours making my character. And I think one of the, what was it? Dragon Age 3, I think it was. I made a character that looked so much like me. I kept the screenshot from my Xbox, and I kept it and I would not, I go through and I filter through my screenshots and everything that I have on my Xbox cloud all the time. I never get rid of that one. Ever, just because it looks so much like me. So there is something to be said, even if you're not somebody that's like in love with character creation, there's still definitely something to be said. Like, when you nail it, when you get that look that you like, whether it's of yourself or whatever, you're pretty proud. Proud. You want to keep it and apply. You
did a pretty good job with your Dragon's Dogma one. You look a lot like you.
Oh, for me? Yeah, but that's easier now because I'm fatter. Before, I was athletic, right? So yeah, like now I don't need to worry about hair. It doesn't matter what facial hair you give me or don't, because whatever. No, now I got my little tits, so it's easier to just make them a little bit overweight and away I go. But yeah. But anyway, you mentioned in your video loot. Loot's always been something that has interested me in Path of Exile. It's always been a hot topic for me, whether it's doing well or doing not.
You inspired me to talk about that.
About loot?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because you brought it up. Oh, you brought it up at the table.
That's right. This is what really happened. I'm like, oh, two people. Okay, hey guys, loot.
Yeah.
No.
Had to get it out.
That's right. No, it was a real pleasure talking with you guys.
Nobody ever listens to me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I have such a reputation about complaining about loot that I had to find new people to complain about. But no, okay, so go on about that. I didn't know that was something that influenced you, and so that's kind of interesting. Tell me about what you were experiencing with that.
Well, I had figured, because I was feeling that the same way about loot I saw a lot of people comment about this too, about how so much loot drops that, you get into this mindset of just don't pick things up. And from every other game I've ever played, just goes against my play style. I mean, honestly, when I'm playing through like Skyrim or something, I will shamelessly make it so I have unlimited inventory space so that I don't get like over encumbered or something, because it's like the worst part of gaming for me. Unless I'm doing some like crazy survival challenge on those games, like I don't care. Let me loot everything. I want to look at it and hold it all. That's just the type of player I am. So I think in a game like this where your inventory is like scrunched up, and I don't know if there's a way on, I couldn't find a way to do it on console, but like
that's
to rotate
a good way to
your
put it.
Stuff.
Scrunched up.
No, you can't.
Scrunched up.
Yeah, so I couldn't rotate things to kind of like Tetris it up to make maximum room. So I wanted to just pick everything up and go and sell it, because there was things I wanted to buy with gold. I didn't know much about it, but I wanted to buy it and make gold. So I was picking things up and going, and we were going and selling them. Both of us were. It wasn't just me. We were both picking everything up because we like it. We'll loot goblins. And I figured that was just a mindset that players had, is just don't worry about the loot. Go buy. It's fine. Things drop all the time. But when Tyler had said that there's too much loot, I was like, so I'm not crazy. I'm not insane. There is too much of it. I want to pick it up. I want to go sell it. So drop less, like make things more meaningful, drop it less. I don't know. It's weird, I guess. Cause I guess I'm new. I don't know how it's supposed to work, but I know how I want it to work in my head. And I want rarer things to drop way less often, instead of the same, things dropping. I mean, just drop gold. Replace the shitty things with gold, and let me pick up the gold if that's what you want. Don't make me go pick up things and go sell it. I'm going to do it anyway. So just drop the gold instead. So let's skip that part of dropping the gray weapons that mean nothing to anyone, and drop me the cool stuff instead.
You're speaking our language. We've been complaining about that for Path of Exile for forever, and you definitely noticed it in PoE 2, just like normal. It was just it was way too quick before we were just picking up nothing. We were just running over stuff because there was no point.
As a minion player, I was looking at scepters.
Bitch. I'm going to say it every time.
As a minion player, the weapon that I was quote unquote forced to pick up for the sake of spirit was scepters. And so I'm playing through the game, and all I'm looking for scepters, but we're not even out of the second instance. Like, so if you bring up your mini map, those circles, the places where you would visit, right?
The world map. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? We call those, that's what we're referencing as an instance. Like that's just levels, right? And so we were not even out of the second instance, and I'm already walking past like 6 scepters that are dropping because they're all the same. And for me, I'm like, man, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Like, sure, eventually one of them's going to have, like my scepters were giving me a level 1 skeleton. So eventually, like a few instances later, I'll end up getting a level 2. But then again, I'm running over and passing another 8 scepters, and it's only the beginning of the game. I mean, loot's just going to get more and more intense as you go through. So it made me nervous as somebody that complains about the loot experience in Path of Exile 1. It made me nervous. Again, playtest, but it was disappointing for me to not see anything change. So it was interesting for you to, and hopefully I didn't I'm happy to hear that I didn't implant that idea in you, that it was something you were thinking and it just reinforced it. Yeah. Right. Good. And I am happy to hear that, because especially the new player experience in that regard is vital, especially when you have been making the game for 10 years, because you want to be excited about the cornerstone of your game. And in Path of Exile, that is the loot-based experience. And if a brand new player is feeling either A, overwhelmed, or B, like it's too mundane and monotonous, it doesn't matter where gear could go. You want to enjoy the process as well, whether you are new to the experience or not.
Right.
And so that was something that I'm glad to hear that it was your own personal opinion, and that you shared the same opinion.
Tyler's had that opinion. We both have. The loot has been an issue, especially because in Path of Exile 1, you cannot play Path of Exile 1 without a loot filter. You just can't. And you cannot use the provided loot filter from the game itself. You have to go to a third party to create your own.
So there is third party things for
a billion. Much. But Path of Exile 1 is so unuser friendly that there's the debate that the third party resources available are quote unquote required to enjoy.
That's so funny.
So yeah, the vanilla experience in that regards as well is kind kind of counterintuitive to the free-to-play model, right? So that's another thing for people that truly just care about grinding gear games, let alone whether they're going to like the game or not. People are just really hoping that this really kind of catches that new player experience. Now, I got a question. This is kind of putting you on the spot, not expecting you to have an answer, but just in case there's something that you've thought of or know of from other games that you've played. So regarding loot, there are 600 or 700 different base types in the game. A base type would be, like, for example, I'm using a scepter, right? And it has level 1 skeletons. That's a base type. Another scepter might drop and it might have, I don't know, a different kind of minion, like a raging spear or something.
Is another base type.
So, you know, and then a quarterstaff, and then there's a claw, and then there's a two-handed axe and a one-handed axe. There's 600 plus base types in the game, but then they all have 4 rarities, right? There's the normal, which is the white, which drops with no mods. Magic, which can drop 1 or 2. Rare, which currently can drop up to 6. I don't know what they're going to do in PoE 2. And then there's unique items, and unique items don't have random modifiers. They have set in place modifiers, but technically there's 4 rarities for each of the 600 base types.
Right.
How do you make that? Like, and I'm with you. Like, I want drops to be rare, whether it matches my build or not. I don't care, but I want to have the potential of being excited for what drops. How do you have a game with so much variety make it so that drops are rare enough to be excited about?
I think, I mean, granted, I'm just learning about this bases thing. So
yes, of course.
But from first instinct here, I think they need to be like those bases and things like that need to be dropped as attachments that are separate from the weapons themselves. So I think that if what's coming to mind here, like you drop just a short sword, just a sword, right? That drops in 4 variations, like the 4 colors, 4 different tiers. And then you can also get an attachment that drops that is also of whatever tier that would be, you know, like you said, like the level 1 minion or 2. And that's an attachment you can put into one of those weapons. The only problem with that is I understand that, you know, there's also all the things like that's also overwhelming in the sense of like that's another thing you have to configure on top of all of the abilities and everything like that. But I think that just in terms of solving the loot problem, it's like you're searching for that certain attachment or you're searching for that certain weapon tier drop. I guess it's just like you're putting. I'm kind of thinking of it from like almost like a RuneScape perspective right now of like, you know, there's swords, but there's variations of swords in the ore that they're made out of, like the bars that they're made out of. So there's like bronze, iron, steel, myth, adamant, rune, dragon. And like, you know, as you go up, they're hitting harder. And then if you were to put an enchantment on them, which RuneScape doesn't have, but those attachments or whatever, like the base is a part of, you could attach those onto them and kind of change them out or make them so that if you attach it to the weapon, that's what they are forever. You can't unattach it. I guess that would be a solution for it. But I mean, it would still be just as much loot. So that's a very hard problem to solve. But it would also just mean you're not picking up this giant weapon every time. You're picking up a one little slot attachment, so you can pick up a lot of them or something if you want. And you're not just limited to picking up 5 weapons before you need to go sell them all. And you can focus on what weapon you're searching for and what attachment you're searching for. Just something along those lines. But again, there's already so many systems that make it complicated. So interchanging another thing out and in would be even more complicated. That's a tough one to solve. That's a really tough one to solve.
Well, and the current way it works in Path of Exile 1 and a little bit different in 2 is that the item drops, it's got an implicit. So in his case with the scepter, it's a level 1 skeleton or level 2 skeleton as they go up. It's different. It seems to be more related to the spell based ones versus like I played warrior as well. We didn't have an implicit on ours that gave us a skill unless you took the shield, which was to block. But the way that they do it is they go, okay, you're going to get orbs that drop. So you're going to get transmutations, you're going to get augmentations, you're going to get orbs of alchemy, orbs of chance. And these are things you can use to apply to that item, which will then change the rules on it, changing a white item into a blue item or into a yellow, rare, whatever it is.
Gotcha. It's all random. It's not.
It's just random what you get when you apply it. The problem though still is that there's still 600 base types, and hold on, don't lose my thought while I remove Tyler's cough.
I just didn't like what you were saying, so I just coughed so you would lose. Yeah, no.
But so I think what the problem is going to be with PoE 2 is the same as PoE 1, which is that you're gonna be reliant on a third party. We use almost everybody uses Filterblade. It's an amazing filter building website that's been developed by one guy. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. But again, you're talking about leaving the game, going in and building your filter for what you want, specific items, specific drops. I mean, he has some amazing pre-done ones, but yeah, you're doing that outside the game. It gets imported. They've built it straight in. Like you can literally log into your PoE account through Filterblade to have it automatically updated within the game. But that's just how reliant they are on third party. I think it's going to be exactly like that with PoE 2. I don't see how you fix the loot problem. I don't see a solution to it. There's too much.
There is too much, yeah.
So Jimmy, you're primary PC now, but you grew up console, right?
Yeah.
All right. So from your experience and your preference, obviously, like we understand that there's a substantial difference between why somebody would buy a console instead of a PC, just the experience they're looking for, the immersiveness, laziness, all that kind of stuff, all into one. I'm primarily a console player, so anybody who's offended by the lazy comment, go stick it. We are. That's why we love console. But from your experience and what you like when you are getting into a game, are you comfortable with the third party experience when the community's highly recommending you need this add-on, you need this attachment, you need this mod, or you need this third party software on the side? Is that part of an okay experience for you, either as an experienced player or when you're starting to get to know something? Or as a PC player, is it important that the vanilla experience is attractive enough before you start adding on?
I think this is definitely a conversation that expands just past PoE, because third party is such a big part of every major game nowadays. I feel like it's more rare to find like an MMO nowadays without third party than it is with. The only thing I can think of is I don't actually know if Final Fantasy does third party. But I know I recently was playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I don't have any third party for that, so the vanilla experience is good for MMORPG stuff. But for Old School RuneScape especially, majority of the player base is using a third party client called RuneLite, which has player built plugins able to be directly installed into the client and have completely changed the game in so many different ways. I have a whole video essay on it of just how it's kind of shaped the direction of the game entirely based on just the kind of accessibility that players are given with plugins. I think there's so many pros and so many cons depending on what the plugin is, because you have situations like with WoW where plugins are getting so essentially they're serving as a handicap for players, because they're making it so easy to avoid mechanics, get out of the way, telling you where to move, how to move, what to do, like literally voices screaming at you to move. Like that's how crazy their plugins are, to the point where content is being developed with these plugins in mind, which can be for better or worse. And in WoW's case, it's absolutely worse, because it's making players who are playing vanilla at a complete disadvantage. So there are plugins that affect gameplay like that. And then I think there's harmless things like filters, where I'm assuming these filters just kind of like, they don't make these things pop up for you anymore. Is that kind of what this does?
They hide items,
or change the shape or the size, the color. You have to keep in mind too, with Path of Exile, there is no add-ons or mods or anything that are in the game. They don't allow any modifications like that. This is all like, so when we're talking third party, it's third party going to a website to build a filter, or it's using something called Path of Building, which is another amazing program that you have to install on your computer, but that's literally just to theorycraft. It's to build your build, put in items, but it doesn't interact. Nothing interacts directly with the game in the sense like WoW, where you can add all the, I can't remember what they were called, but like the monster ones that are like move now and go left.
Yeah.
Nothing actually interfaces with the game,
with the exception of the filter.
Kind of way. Yeah, the filter is in the back end, but they've built that in because you can't play without it. So that's what I was talking about with third party is like, yeah, you have to really play with the filter. You don't have to use path of building, but if you ever want to follow somebody's build, that's what everything's built around. Hey, I've built this build. This is how it works. Here's the POB, which everybody calls it. Here's the POB link. You can import that into path of building, and that gives you the walkthrough of your, creating your build.
But the mentality of adding mods to a game is the same thing, right? You're enhancing your experience. You're trying to improve it. You're planning ahead. You're whatever it is. It's the same thing. Are you, going in to your first experience, wanting all of that the first time? Is the vanilla experience that important? It's all the kind of the same. Yeah. And I hear where you're coming from. So what is your take on it? I mean, from your standpoint and your preference, do you mind the unofficial requirement of the things that are not part of the vanilla experience?
I guess just being so like in the world of third party things for most games that I've played long term, I'm fine with it. But there may be a lot of players that aren't. I mean, anyone who's ever maybe installed a virus or something or gotten hacked or phished or something, they're not going to be too stoked to go and download a third party thing. And also, if it's something that's as simple as a loot filter and it's this unofficial requirement, like a huge consensus from the players that you need this to play, then it should absolutely be implemented into vanilla by the devs. That should be something they're so insanely aware of and should be working their hardest to make something that either includes the dev of that plugin to implement into their game, or directly endorse it through their website or anything. Like Old School RuneScape, they have a direct link to the RuneLite website to avoid people getting hacked and phished and stuff like that, because they know how important it is to the player base. So even though they haven't implemented it as their own client or anything, they're endorsing it to make sure that players are directed to the proper area if they want to use it. Yeah. But I think it's super important that, I mean, even Jagex at Old School RuneScape, they're doing their best to try and replicate what RuneLite's doing in their own way. It's obviously not as popular yet, but they're working towards building their own client to basically compete with RuneLite. So I think as devs, they should absolutely be considering something like, improving whatever filter system they already have to be exactly what everyone's going and downloading and doing on this third party. Especially going to game number 2, I hope they've prioritized doing something like that. If it truly is this thing that everybody uses, there's no excuse for them to not go and contact that dev and offer them a payment of some sort to take their system or have them work for them or something along those lines to build a better quality of life for players.
I love you so much. It's funny because that's what we would like with grinding gear games as well. But it's always been amazing to me that the loot and the item weight experience in Path of Exile has been on the back burner for so long with Path of Exile 1. Like there's nothing even close to what you're recommending that's ever been done in Path of Exile 1 from the dev side.
Need a link in PoE 2. Just put a link to Filter Blade or something, or just put his pre-builts into the dropdown. Like they have worked with past devs who have created stuff. They hired the guy who creates and runs Path of Building. He now works for GGG. The guy who makes the filters is incredible. I'm not sure they could actually ever afford to hire him just because of what he does and how much he does even outside of it, but they have to find some way to incorporate it. My problem has always been, and Tyler and I have talked about this, when you rely on third party so much, which they do in the filter room. Tyler likes to create his own filters, so he has to go through Path of Exile. It's a horrible experience, but he likes to take it on. For the average player and 90% of the player base, they use Filter Blade because it's simple, it's colored. You just take the presets and just take a couple sliders, move it around.
Right.
But if he all of a sudden goes like, I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore, you're in a lot of trouble as a game.
That's the apocalypse.
Yep.
That's
I guess
how it
another
starts.
thing is, so this filter, I'm guessing, so it's going to basically prevent, as you know, if I'm a warrior, it's going to make like stabs not pop up for me. Like
You could do whatever you want. You could make it show them still, or not show them, or only show at a certain level or certain item. Like literally everything is customized.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's absolutely something they should be implementing into the game, because I think it'd be harder to adjust the loot system entirely, like the whole drop mechanic of it. So I think that's it's kind of crazy that it is considered such a important thing to have, the third party filter blade.
It's really funny because it's so much built into the game that you need it, that there's an option in the game to make your game run better by choosing not to render hidden filter items. So if I didn't want to see shields and my filter says hide shields, in the game settings itself, there's an option to say don't render dropped items that I've chosen to hide.
So they've already like halfway there of implementing it then.
As long as I have that third party thing, set up for my filter. Yeah, they've built a system that says, hey, your game will run better by never seeing that shield drop.
So the filter blade people have implemented that setting?
No,
the game devs.
Game dev, yeah.
So
okay, see, why have they not done that?
Right.
It's bizarre, man.
The game setup is that 99.9% of the items that drop you're never going to look at.
Yeah,
they know it. They know it.
Percentage, yeah.
So it was a lot more disheartening, I guess you could see now after this conversation, for Justin and I to play through the second game, Path of Exile 2, and by the second instance, we're already walking over a lot of white items again, and we're like, oh no, it's starting again. It's starting again.
Yeah.
So
there was an excitement for rares, which was nice. They were very rare to find a yellow item, and there was an excitement when it came. It was just they were littered with so many shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the one thing, I guess, now, so one thing right now with GGG, like when you do console games, you're not making, you can't rely on third party stuff. You can't.
Right.
Not when you're making a console game. That's all about the vanilla experience. It always will be. Sure, you can have like paid add-ons, but that's a completely different conversation and subject and theme. With a console game, it's the game you download and buy that needs to work and work well and be part of the experience. So what they've done with Path of Exile 1 on the Xbox is Neversink. He's the guy that makes all the filters for Path of Exile that people use. They have his filters available just as part of the drop-down menu when you go in your filters, and that's really cool. But I don't know if they do or not now, but they didn't have that for PlayStation when it launched on PlayStation, and they don't have that as a default on PC. So there's that inconsistency there.
Right.
But who knows what they'll do for Path of Exile 2. But I didn't mean to get and like spend 8 hours on loot, but I was curious because you mentioned, of course I did. My pants aren't even on. But when you mentioned it in your video, I thought that was cool that we shared the same thing, and I'm glad it was your own opinion. It was nice to hear about it from a new player perspective.
Yeah, I think third party stuff like that, I mean, in today's gaming world, it's super important for devs to pay attention to that stuff. And obviously they are, because they've implemented that setting to not render weapons. But I mean, it's even more important for them to understand that it exists because it's a problem. And they, if not implementing that system directly, then they need to address the problem of things dropping that players simply don't care about. Like, I think it's a problem. There's a reason they developed that system. So implement it or fix it.
Would you go back for a second playtest if they invited you?
Oh, absolutely. It's so fun. I would know what to look for now, I guess. Like I'd pay attention to other stuff, see what they fixed or didn't fix.
Now that you've experienced 6 or 8 or whatever hours of gameplay that it was, is there a certain build or character style skill thing that you would hope would be available? Something that would kind of excite you for the kind of genre that it is, and now that you've played a bit of it?
Like would I play one of the other available ones, or is there one I have in mind that I'd like them to create from scratch?
Whether it's something that you haven't played before or you played just recently and you like when you think of that game and you get excited about trying to play an ARPG and find some loot, is it all about like, huge hammer and smash, or do you get excited about, you know, casting away
Little
with your
bitch. Oh, I was waiting for summer. It's never going away.
Yeah, I love two-handed weapons. I love, I think as the warrior. So the warrior, and is there a barbarian class too, or how does that work?
Similar. Like every one of the classes that you chose is going to have 3 subclasses. They're called ascendancies. There's going to be, so technically there's going to be 36 ascendancies or 36 classes to pick from.
Okay.
And
You're
they're
like a base class, and then you've got 3 ascendancies that each class
pick
has.
So
from that.
when I played a warrior, I just didn't get to the ascendancies yet.
They probably weren't in the playtest. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I
they
think
unlock as you go through the campaign.
I loved the two-handed weapons a lot. Like I had a shield and a club equipped, but I was never using it. Like I never pressed. I like
Me too.
key binded the things to not really be something I'm clicking a lot, like for one-handed weapons. And it was all, I guess a lot of the abilities were one-handed because I didn't really understand how to make my abilities for two-handed. I didn't really see an option for it anywhere, so I have no idea. But I love two-handed weapons a lot. That's my favorite. So I would definitely try, and if I went in again, I'd probably try and figure out how to play one of those, only two-handed build. Like I don't want a shield or anything.
That's what I did. It was so fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
I forget what you played in your demo or what you played. Did you do two-handed?
Eventually, I think you got to two-handed, didn't you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I had a two-handed on my back like the whole time, so I was just pressing the two-handed button a lot. And
you know what? That's actually kind of
He was weapon swapping, Ty.
What? Oh, fancy pants. Hey, get out of here, pro.
I don't even know how to do
That's
it.
actually one thing. I just find it so sexy. Like even in the DS, the Dark Souls games or Elden Ring, I just love like having a spear on my back. I just think it looks so badass.
Oh yeah,
I love
spears
it.
are so
Like,
good.
Even if I'm going all minions and I'm supposed to be holding the scepter, I don't care. I'm putting what?
I was going to say it. You said minions, but I gave you that one. Go ahead.
What's the trigger word? What's the key word? What am I
Just
supposed
anything
to say?
to do with minions or summons, because the comment that he made, I don't remember exactly, but he was talking about, playing a two-handed smash, get right in there, not sending my skeletons in there, little bitch.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the context
Oh
now.
my God, I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, that's me though. Little bitch, that's me.
Yeah.
And anyway, even if I'm going all like scepters and everything, nope, I'm putting a spear on my back because it looks hot. And I saw that they had a base type in part of the drops. Winged spears can drop. I don't care where that is on the scale of base types. That winged spear in my very first Dark Souls playthrough was like, I was married to that winged spear. Married to it. Winged spears have a special place in my heart because of DS1.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. What are you working on though, Jimmy? What kind of things are you doing? Oh, what's the face, Ty?
Because Torg started yelling, my D&D turned off,
I didn't even
and then
hear
I
your
just
phone go.
and then I got
Oh,
another
your D&D
spam
goes all the
message
time.
from a fake Canada Post.
What are you working on? What are you doing any of your, I know you have some crazy long-term thing you've been doing, right? In RuneScape?
Yeah, I've basically been doing a series like that started. It's the reason I'm doing YouTube full time. It's what kickstarted it all. It's a series called By Release, and I'm doing every quest in the game in order of release date. And if basically RuneScape quests are not like other MMO quests. I don't know if you've ever seen any RuneScape quests be done, but
Nope.
they're whole storylines. Like they're not these like go kill 12 goblins like the other MMOs. They're like actual stories, like an RPG type story that give you access to new areas, new weapons, XP at the end, like basically best at slot gear. They're really good. They're amazing. And
Is that not the normal way to play through the game, to do the quests?
quests are absolutely essential to playing, but you don't have to do all of them to make it to like end game or anything. Like achieving all the quests in the game is good to do for your account for all the benefits you get, but there's only like some real essential ones that you need to do and work towards. Like some quests are prereqs for other quests, so you've got to knock out the early ones to get to the later ones, unless they're like a standalone, which don't have any prereqs. Some of them have skills you need to have before you can do them. Some of them need, weapons or gear from other quests. They're very fun. Like, it's super fun. It's a reason to like progress your account, is to be able to just do some of the quests. So I've been doing them in order of release date, starting with 2001, working all the way to current day. It's very slow right now because I've been doing so many other projects. It used to be all I did was just by release. And then I ventured into video essays and different one and done projects. So, but I think my next video coming out is going to be by release, continuing it and doing, I did all the quests from 2022. Cool. So that'll be the next episode, I think.
Wow. So it's taken this long to finish the quest?
Don't get me wrong. I could have finished this like 4 years ago. Oh, I just did everything else. And, you know, I do a lot of stuff within the episodes. Like, I try and make them these very high production value. Like, I literally have made songs for them and everything. Like, I go all out. Your videos are great. And thank you. I just, it's like my passion stuff. My passion project is by release. So I try and take my time with it and just make episodes as good as I can, basically. Just try and take my time with it.
And you have 2 YouTube channels? Is that right? Or do you have more?
Yeah, I have 2. I have my Jimbo, which is where I posted the PoE 2 video, and then I have my Jimmy account, which is where I post my main videos. Okay. I didn't post the PoE 2 video on my main because I just didn't really know how it would be received by my audience, and I wanted to get it out rather quick, so I didn't spend too much time on it or anything. So I wanted to just toss it up and have it there.
Cool. That's awesome. And so we'll have all your information in all the notes and stuff. I'm gonna get Nicole's stuff as well, so we can link that. So if anybody wants to check you guys out, cool, they will find it in there.
Nice.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This was tons of fun. It was really
this is great. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It was really cool. This is awesome. And Tyler, thanks for stopping by and talking to us. This
good, man.
Awesome,
he's a man of the people. He loves that stuff.
No, it's one of those things where, like, I'd had like a minor sip of alcohol. I'd had almost nothing, but you never know, like, after you just had one sip, if it's like, did I seem like, was that too much? Did I interrupt? Were they just having a nice conversation? Was this out of place? And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to show up and be like, did I read the room wrong because I had that sip, or did I accidentally have 3 sips and not know? You know what I mean? So I didn't know if I was interrupting, but you guys were wonderful to talk with, and it was awesome for you to invite me to sit.
Talking all about you afterwards, so it was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was awesome discussion, and we got along really well with you. So when we had this opportunity, it was very easy to say yes. So thank you.
That was awesome. I appreciate it a lot.
Come on by anytime. Friend of the show. Friend of the show.
Whenever I have something bad to say about the game, I'll come on and cause controversy.
Yeah, you can just come and join for a chat.
Nice.
Most of our conversations, and we get yelled at it all the time for it, is we talk about life. And people love it or they hate it.
Hey, it's important.
And we're here for it.
Yeah.
We're here for it.
Good stuff.
That's right. Let's wrap this up. Good luck with your house, by the way. Hey? New house owner, first year. Good luck.
Get that lawn
that's
going.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, once you have grass, send some pictures.
I got to change a few laws. Change a few Las Vegas laws before I get that down. Work on that first.
Some water somehow.
Yeah.
All right. Forever Exiled. I don't even know what episode this is. 247, I think.
It's the best episode so far, probably.
Best episode. 100%. I'm just AK tags.
Tyler, Record of Days.
And we got Jimmy.
With a 1.
With a 1. Jimmy with a 1.
Word.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Patrons will catch you in After Dark. Everybody else will see you next week in 248. And if you're looking for information, you'll find down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. On Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a very fun Discord. Pop in there and say hello. And patrons are the way to support the podcast. Find them down below. And on the website, Jimmy's information and Nicole's information as well. Ciao.
Bye, bye, bye. Good stuff.
Nice.